Growing up in Australia as an Aussie kid, I didn't really know that the winter world existed. Our winters are very short. They're usually not very good in terms of snowfall. If you'd said to me as a 15-year-old child that I was going to become the first Australian woman to win a Winter Paralympic medal, I would have said you were crazy. It really is about showing that you can go out there and you can achieve things that aren't necessarily in the stereotypical box or that people expect you to do. Why follow paths left by others when you can create your own? My name is Jessica Gallagher. I grew up in Geelong in Victoria, Australia. I came from a single mum with a single income, and sport was always a big part of our lives.
I started coaching her in about grade 4 at netball, and she picked up very quickly. You could tell she had a keen ability to play sport.
Skiing was certainly not a sport that I ever knew existed growing up in Geelong. I went to a school camp up at the Snow for a couple of days when I was in my final year of high school, but it was the most disastrous experience because I didn't know what I was doing and I hated it, and I thought, why on earth would anyone be involved in this winter world? So for me, it's pretty incredible to see where my career's progressed to.
When the doctor actually said she needed to see an eye specialist, she was actually heading to the national netball titles. They won the title, come back on the Monday. I was told on the Friday she was already legally blind. She's never, ever complained. I've never heard her, why me?
I think probably my mum took the diagnosis the hardest because it was a genetic disease. She felt that it was her fault, the reason that I was going to suffer. For me, it was that we can't change it, and yes, it's not great, but let's make the best of the bad situation. I have central vision loss, so that includes things like fine detail and colour contrast. I am fortunate that I do have some peripheral vision, which is why I'm able to walk around independently. Classification for a vision impaired athlete is in 3 categories. B3, which is my category, is somebody with less than 10% vision. If somebody's walking towards me, I will be able to see an outline. But facial expressions, what somebody is wearing, whether they're waving or smiling, these sorts of things are a complete blur to me. I was still completely brand new to the world of alpine skiing, and so the first process was to figure out, all right, well, I have 15 months, how on earth am I going to transition from being a beginner ski racer to hopefully a Paralympic medalist? That was about putting the right people in place, finding a guide that I was going to be able to work with.
Keep going. Yeah.
I talk to people who have been doing athletics as a vision impaired athlete to try to understand what Jess would be experiencing and try to apply those types of experiences to quite a unique and very dynamic environment. When you do a comparison between where we are in Australia with mainly a summer country compared to people in North America or Europe where they tend to be born on skis, they would do 150 days on skis at a minimum per year. We were looking at a maximum of 150 days on skis to be prepared for the Paralympics.
It was just a matter of trusting that he would give me that right instruction, and that if I just went for it and gave it everything, that I would be okay. And, you know, it was just such a magical time in my career because I was still so new to everything, and I guess there wasn't a lot of expectation in me actually being able to achieve something. I just knew this was going to be an incredible experience because I was finally making my debut for Australia. It was going to be my birthday, and I just felt like everything was going to work out for us.
A lot does go through your mind as to what can physically happen, how hard do you try to ski? Because if you don't finish the first race and you don't get to go on the second run, you're out of the race completely.
After our first run, we were in 3rd position, and it was just incredible to go up to the top of that second run, push out of that start gate with Eric and cross the finish line to hear him say that we were guaranteed a medal.
Gallagher claims Australia's first medal at the 2010 Paralympics.
I sat in the rain and hail for about 7 hours, and I didn't watch her race. because I was too scared.
She said that she spent the entire time with her hands in her head, just petrified because she'd never seen alpine skiing before. I don't think she truly understood sort of the speeds that we went at, and to be able to run across the fence and give her a big hug and just the tears that were going around was just, you know, phenomenal.
Representing Australia, Jessica Gallagher, guide Eric Thicton.
Being the first Aussie female Paralympian to medal with such a short amount of training behind her. Yeah, very proud.
You know, I didn't realise at the time how much of a milestone it was for Australia. It had been 50 years earlier for a male. To be able to achieve that milestone as well was really special. It sort of gave you the understanding of, well, why am I here? What am I doing this for? And is this a risk that I want to take? I was just a different person. I had no energy, no drive. I was physically very fatigued and mentally very fatigued and really sort of suffering that burnout. You spend your whole life preparing for this one moment in time and don't feel that love for the sport or feel that motivation.
Gallagher of Australia and Christian Geiger, the next pair out of the start hut.
It was a rough games. The mountain didn't have a lot of snow, and so it made it very, very difficult to ski on. There were lots of crashes, lots of really serious injuries that were going on.
Oh no! And Gallagher goes the wrong way.
Just such a massive error, which showed me and I really understood in that moment just how far off I was from where I wanted to be. And so we went down the mountain, and I think we finished in 7th at the end, but it was just so heartbreaking because we'd expected to be on the top of that podium.
And she crosses the line. 26 seconds off the pace, real disappointment.
I remember speaking to our team doctor and saying, look, I still have the giant slalom to go. What do I do? You know, I'm just so tired, and I don't want to be here. How do I get over this sort of traumatic experience? So I spent the next 2 days in my little athlete's village room, just, watching funny movies and just trying to find the love for the sport again. And when I came out for the morning of the giant slalom, that was just my goal for the day, was just have fun.
Jessica Gallagher of Australia, the next to race.
Christian and I had fun on the mountain, and when you have fun, you let go and you ski fast. So that's what I did. I went out and had fun on the mountain, and crossed that line. It was just the most relief I think I've ever felt.
New time, 3 minutes, 2 seconds, 0.11, and they know that she has herself a medal.
To know that, I'd overcome all of those challenges, to be on that podium again, so it was amazing.
Congratulations to Jess Gallagher and Christian Geiger of Australia.
I took a few months off after the Games because I was just so burnt out as an athlete, and I just needed to rest and recoup and decide, which path I wanted to take. And I still had in the back of my mind was always that dream of winning a summer and winter Paralympic medal, and I truly believed that I had the capability of doing that.
I knew because she'd come from skiing that she was a massive adrenaline junkie. She loved going fast, and so the tandem on the velodrome could have been, a way to, I suppose, fill that need.
I just fell in love with the sport instantly. I think that diving up and down the boards really felt like I was on the mountain again. I had that adrenaline rush and I had that sort of wind through the hair, and it really gave me that same buzz that I get when I'm flying down a mountain. And I thought, yeah, this is the sport for me, and let's become a track cyclist.
This could be a history-making ride for Jessica Gallagher, who's been a medalist at the Winter Paralympic Games, and it might even be a medal now at the Summers with a time of 1:08.171. It's a Paralympic record as well.
True athletes could probably do half a dozen different sports. So just because they choose to do a sport doesn't mean they probably couldn't be really good at 2 or 3 others. And Jess is clearly, she's an athlete, just the way that she moves and carries herself, you can see that.
A lot of people told me that there were things I would never be able to do, and for me I chose to ignore that and just go out there and do the things that I always wanted to. Being a visually impaired athlete provides so much complexity, the unique variability of needing a guide and relying on a guide. You know, it's not just about me on that mountain. Certainly by saying yes to opportunities and being open to change and to trying new experiences, even if they scare the hell out of me, it's led me down pathways that I didn't even know existed. If someone says they don't think I can do something, it's usually, well, just sit back and watch me do it.